Hello coders, in the previous few tutorials we talked about the three major components comprised in our page transitioning system where we have the menu controller, the transitioner, and the dynamic listener. We talked about the first two. We're going to talk about the dynamic listener in this tutorial though, and we're going to go ahead and code that up so it can be finished. After this tutorial we are done with our dynamic menu series. I'm just going to do one more tutorial after this showing you guys step by step how to set up new pages and add these scripts to the buttons, to the pages, and to the menu controller so that you guys can see how to set it up for yourselves for your own custom menus. Alright, but let's go ahead and get into creating our dynamic listener script. So you're going to create a new dynamic listener.cs. Make sure you add these using statements for Unity Engine UI and Unity Engine event systems. And then a lot of this stuff I outlined a couple tutorials back in our conceptual discussion. If you haven't seen it, I'll go ahead and provide a link for you guys so you guys can check that out first because I talk about this stuff in detail. Alright, so I'm going to go through this a little bit quick. Our object listening tag, remember when our button loads into the screen, we need to find the object listening via tag. And so what we're going to do is this down here, object listening equals GameObject.find GameObject with tag, and then we're going to pass that tag value there. Then we're going to have this Boolean option to check to see if this is the listener. If this is the listener, then the object listening is going to be set to the game object this component is attached to, and we do that right here. Okay, and then we have a boolean for parameter, so we're going to be ultimately trying to run some sort of method when we click our buttons. Okay, and so if if the method we want to run has a parameter that needs to be passed to it, we can set this boolean to true. Otherwise, we leave it to false. And then we have send message, which send message is going to be the method name of the method that we want to run, and then message parameter is going to be the string that we're going to pass to that method if that method requires a parameter to be passed to it. Then we're going to have a button B and a game object listening, of course. In the start event function, we're going to say B equals get component button, and then we're going to ask to get our game object that's listening to our click events. So what we do here is we say if this is the listener, object listening is just game object. Otherwise, object listening is equal to this. We're going to find the game object with tag, which in our case for our menus is going to be the menu controller. Then if object listening, so if this exists, if one of these things happened, essentially, we're going to set the listener using object listening. And so what we do is we first check to see if B is not equal to null, and if it's not equal to null, then we run this code, we set the listener. If it is equal to null, then we log this error notifying the user that the dynamic listeners belong on buttons, and you might have accidentally put the dynamic listener on an object that doesn't have a button component. Okay, so if the button exists, then we check if it doesn't have a parameter. If it doesn't have a parameter, then this is how we add the listener. We say b.onClickAddListener. We use this parenthesis notation, and then we say object listening send message, and then we pass the method that we want to send a message, or that we're looking for in send message. If you don't understand how send message works, I have a tutorial on that. I'll go ahead and provide a link to it now so that you guys can go ahead and check that out if you are unsure of how send message works. So that's if we don't have a parameter. If we do have a parameter, we're going to add the listener this way. We're going to say b.onClick.addListener, object listening.send message, same thing as before, only we're going to add a comma and then add the message parameter string right there. And that is going to cover the dynamic listener script. I know I blew through it a little quick, so if you have any questions, feel free to contact us or leave comments in the comment section below. Now let's go ahead and take a look at a button that uses a dynamic listener right now. If I run the project as I have it right now, you can see, I'll go ahead and run in full screen mode. So I can press achievements here, and I should go to the achievements screen, and there you go. So we have the page transitioning happening and it's all working. I can go back and everything. Okay, so I can go back and forth like this, and so we have the achievements button has a dynamic listener on it. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So I'll go ahead and find that in my prefabs. It's going to be in my buttons folder, main menu, and then I have achievements right here. So the achievements prefab, we look in the inspector, has a dynamic listener to it. the object listening tag is menu. Check out the menu controller up here. That tag is menu, so that's where it's finding it. So whenever this button enters the screen, this object is the object that's listening for click events. Okay, so the other settings that we have here, this is listener is set to false because again our listener is menu, and then this is going to accept a parameter. And the send message is going to be set next page. If you remember, whenever we were scripting our menu controller, we have this method for set next page, and it takes a parameter for a string. We're going to pass achievements to that, and that's going to be responsible for what's going to happen is it's going to look to see achievements right here at element 1, and then it's going to know that element 1 in the pages array needs to be spawned, and so it's going to spawn that page. So this is the achievements page right here, and it knows it's going to spawn that page. Alright guys, that is going to conclude this tutorial on the dynamic listener. If you have any questions, again, please feel free to ask in the comment section below. If you liked the video, drop a like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet and you're liking these videos, please subscribe to our channel and help us out. But as always, this has been a Renaissance Coders tutorial. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next tutorial.